Yo, what's going on everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another Boruto 2 Blue Vortex discussion. Today, I wanted to talk to you guys about a potential swerve that the story might be planting for us, and is one that I think is credible enough that we have to consider it a possibility, which is why Ino Yamanaka, the woman who Sai and Inoji both affectionately call mommy, for two different reasons, might end up having herself placed in danger as we move deeper into the story of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex. Because as I was going back and doing a reread of the chapters for a bigger video, I found myself looking at an interesting piece of dialogue that stood out regarding Ino, and my knee-jerk reaction was to write it off as being a red herring. And if you put a pistol to my head, I still think it might be a red herring, but I do think it stands a chance of paying off later on in the future of being something credible. So when we go back to Boruto 2 Blue Vortex chapter 4, one of the things that we learn is that when Kawaki was in the Hokage office bringing Shikamaru up to speed on everything that happened, Kawaki dropped that oh so ominous line of how he noticed that Boruto was talking to someone and that he was worried it might be someone on the sensory unit, which Shikamaru shot that down right away. The line, it was very easy to gloss over because it takes advantage of the dramatic irony that we as readers have, knowing that Boruto wasn't working with the sensory unit. And immediately after that line was dropped, we had the very tense stare down between Kawaki and Sarada that teased a future fight in the future between these two later on in the story, that left some people saying, why don't they just go get a room? But looking back at it now, I don't think we can take this moment and dismiss it either. The order in which the words were spoken, it plays a part in the reason that I want to bring to your attention. Kawaki says that he thinks Boruto was speaking to someone and it might be someone from the sensory unit. Kawaki's suspicion went right there with no hesitation. It was playing on the guilt that comes from him knowing that he stole Boruto's life and knowing that at some point he's gonna have to answer for it, and there will be some who see through his lie of Boruto killing Naruto, which again, it plays a part in him being so upset when Damon mocked him for eventually getting exposed for the lie that he told of Boruto killing Naruto. He already considered the possibility of people eventually helping Boruto. I go as far as to say right up to the line and stop just short of calling it fear. It's not fear per se so much as it's the unpleasant possibility of a undesirable outcome that he's considered. Then right after Kawaki says that, Shikamaru is shown saying that if anyone was a spy helping Boruto, he would know, which in hindsight, that was foreshadowing. He would know if someone was being a spy and helping Boruto because he is the one who ended up being a spy helping Boruto in the future. And with the context of the conversation being the sensory unit having a spy on it, that by extension includes Ino, the person who's assisting Shikamaru in all of this, the very same person who Shikamaru said, hey, make sure Ada doesn't find out. Shikamaru tells Boruto in chapter 6 and in chapter 7 that due to Shikamaru being the Hokage, there is only so much he can do to assist him because everyone in the Land of Fire wants Boruto dead. But Shikamaru isn't leaving him completely out there alone and dry. Where Shikamaru can, he will throw bones to Boruto. And he does plan on throwing some of those bones his way, especially now that he knows Naruto is alive and sealed away by Kawaki, and that Kawaki is the key to having Naruto released. And in order to have that happen, he needs Boruto, which Boruto is his best chance to get Naruto back. While I'm leaning towards saying, hey, this all might be a red herring, I do think there's a possibility, a strong possibility, that Kawaki figures out Ino is involved in some kind of way for a few different reasons, and that's largely because there are seeds planted in the story for this to be the case. Right now, Konoha, they have a safeguard to Ada's Semigon powers that can see the present and it can see the past up until the moment of Ada's birth 19 years ago, where she basically has eyes that serve as a security camera, where she can rewind scenes and project herself into a scene to watch conversations and events play out. The Semigon, however, cannot see events and allow Ada to listen in on conversations that are occurring through the Yamanaka clan's hidden jutsu to speak telepathically. The story is eventually going to sacrifice that plot protection at some point for the sake of raising the conflict of the story. If I was an editorial assistant looking at Boruto right now, it would be a question I would ask the author: when are you going to nix this? It's an easy route to raising conflict. I don't think many of us believe we're going to go the entirety of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex without Ada, Damon, and Kawaki realizing what's going on in that regard. I think it's inevitable it gets blown up. There's a reason why in Boruto Naruto Next Generation, Shikamaru was only shown communicating with Sarada and Sumire through that jutsu when it involved Ada in terms of Konoha Shinobi. Kawaki was never made aware that Konoha was using as a method to subvert Ada's powers. In Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, we had a moment where Ada directly questioned Sarada and Sumire about why they were immune to omnipotence and question were they really affected by her powers. Then you have that shot of Damon staring a hole right through the two of them to figure out if they were lying or not. It was an unspoken threat on his part that he smells a lie and he's gonna take their heads off as soon as he gets confirmation. Boruto Naruto Next Generations revealed to us that Shikamaru already had a plan in place to deal with this whole thing. Ada would be disposed of by Sarada and Sumire. Boruto and Kawaki would be tasked with taking down Damon. All of that was contingent upon them being a threat to the village. Since then, Kawaki has aligned himself with Ada and Damon out of necessity because of what happened with omnipotence and the lie that he's told. And Boruto, meanwhile, has been brought into the fold of them using the Yamanaka clan hidden jutsu to converse in a way that doesn't tip off Ada. Eventually, the story is going to blow that entire situation up, which brings us to the how, and I think the how behind everything has already been put into place. It's important to remember that Amado does know that Konoha can use the hidden jutsu of the Yamanaka clan to speak without Ada knowing because he participated in that conversation as well. In Boruto Naruto Next Generations chapter 69, Ino directly linked Amado and Shikamaru via the mind transmission jutsu. Amado knows that they can speak without Konoha giving away to Ada that they were doing so because he saw it firsthand. If we stay in character, Amado is the type of person to withhold information until it's convenient for him, and right now there is no point in him revealing that information. But let's look at it. What do we know about Amado in Boruto 2 Blue Vortex? We know everything we need to know. Amado already knows that his memories have been altered. He said as much himself. He just chooses to ignore his memories and do as he said, follow the data, a very scientific approach. Kawaki had the body of a cyborg modified by Amado's own very hands. He recognized his ninja tech inside of Kawaki because he knows no buffoon in Konoha like Katasuke could ever hope to replicate it. He's so far ahead when it comes to ninja tech and combining it with Hashirama cells that Konoha couldn't even hope to compare. Even though all of Amado's memories are telling him that it should be Boruto with that technology, he knows, wait a second, Kawaki's got it, something's not right. Amado saw his daughter's DNA in Kawaki's karma, but his memories told him it should be Boruto. Amado told us that he is choosing to defy his memories and follow the data, and as we discussed after Boruto 2 Blue Vortex chapter 5 dropped, Amado more than likely knew he was being spied upon, and he wouldn't have said that information out loud unless he already wanted that information known, which means that he already had a plan in place, but he needed to force Konoha's hand for some unknown reason. Now, we don't know how it's going to happen, but at some point, it's very likely that Amado tips Kawaki off to what is occurring with Konoha using the mind transmission jutsu to speak with Ada, not knowing that they're speaking. It's just that right now, he doesn't have any incentive to tell Kawaki. It's like if Amado's sitting at the table playing spades with everybody. Sometimes you just have to wait to play a card or a set of cards so you can see what the other people at the table are holding before you start clearing books in the game. Amado right now, sticking with the spades comparison, he's basically got an ace of spades and 2 joker cards that are sitting in his hand ready to play, and the guy isn't playing them right away for reasons we don't know yet. He's waiting to see what other cards people have to play. However, when he does pull the trigger, just look at the pieces that are falling into place here. This can get messy very, very quickly. Sarada and Sumire, they end up having to confront Ada. Boruto is going to end up being derailed by Damon, which that fight's already been set up in Boruto Naruto Next Generations, with Damon saying that he wanted to fight Boruto again using full power, and yeah, Boruto with this promise to protect Sarada, so he would have to step in a deal with Damon so as to keep Sarada safe. That leaves Kawaki alone to make a beeline for Ino, because he'd have been around Inojin enough to know that he isn't skilled enough to pull something like that off, and Inojin looked genuinely shocked that Boruto was back, which leaves his mother, and that's enough for Kawaki to consider Ino as a possibility of being the mole. After all, Ino is friends with Naruto. Out of all the people that are on the sensory unit who might have a reason to assist Boruto, she has the highest possibility of being the probable mole because she is a friend of Naruto and Hinata. And if Kawaki believes that she's learned the truth about either omnipotence or Naruto being alive, or both, which we as the audience, again because of dramatic irony, we know that that is the case. Based off of the laws of probability, it makes the most sense for Kawaki to target Ino because he has a straight line there, which means at some point Ino is going to get those big black rods shoved deep inside of her. There's another reason for this when you dive into both narratively from a writing perspective and when you look strategically at things via some of the methods of the 48 laws of power. Sometimes it's best to strike without warning to make others tremble when they least expect it. It's a tactic that's been used for centuries now. It's how you maintain leverage in a war situation because it's far easier to take an enemy out piece by piece when they're moving in chaos because they're reacting to your moves than they would be if they had a united front. The reason why is because of unpredictability. It's being put into play here. Human beings, by our very nature, we look for structure. We seek out structure. We know exactly where something is and what its role is, or we look to find out what it is. It's why writers use plot twists, because it goes against the very nature of what we seek out as humans, because it's the unexpected that comes into play after we've invested so much into a story or a character and we think we know where it's going, and so we have this sense of security and structure. That swerve allows the narrative to come into play, to play with our emotions and move us closer to what the writer is looking to create for a payoff. Case in point, why did the Kawaki and Naruto Hinata plot twist work the way it did? Because so many people said, how can Kawaki turn on Naruto? Because that's the setup. You got lulled into the sense of stability that Kawaki was changing and he was this loving adopted son of Naruto, and then all of a sudden your heart gets ripped out and omnipotence happens. It's payoff. In battle, unpredictability causes either a moment where your enemy pulls back or they reassess the situation, or they make a tactical blunder by staying the course, which is why so many people had so much trouble with Naruto in fights in Naruto's manga. He didn't fight like a traditional shinobi. Naruto was likely to fart in your face if it meant that he could win. Now, Kiba and Hinata might have liked it when Naruto farted in their faces, but most people weren't down for something like that. Even if he himself didn't plan for it to happen, Naruto did what it took to win. Amado has potentially set the stage for Konoha to expose Ino to danger, and that's enough to have Kawaki make a straight line for her, and by extension Shikamaru, who Amado's been in a quiet chess game with for the last 3 years and counting. I personally wouldn't mind it should this happen, because it gives the opportunity to generate more heat for Kawaki as a heel, which that's a wrestling reference. So in this case, as an antagonist, which Kawaki technically is. He's an antagonist to Boruto's protagonist. He's morally gray, but he's still an antagonist. People are already saying it's so hard to root for Kawaki after everything that he's done. I can't believe he stole Boruto's life and sealed away Naruto and Hinata and did this and did that. Here's the thing. We haven't even hit the bottom for Kawaki's character yet, and endangering yet another legacy character, because he's already sealed away Naruto and Hinata. He's the reason why indirectly Sasuke's been turned into a tree, because had he never chased Boruto out of the village, Sasuke never would have been made into a tree. If you serve up Ino or Shikamaru to this guy, it's going to be an effective way to continue raising conflict and an effective way to keep generating heat for Kawaki's character before you eventually turn him back babyface, or to stick with the narrative term, to pull him back towards being a good guy that gets redeemed. It's almost as effective as the editing in the chapter review, which you can peep by clicking the link on the screen above.